I'm still shaken from today's earlier video. If you guys haven't seen it already, uh, go back and check it out after this is over. Um, just be prepared in case you haven't heard about this story. It's not on our current series. It is something else, and you may need a bag for your regurgitation of your food. Anyway. Hi, welcome back to Far From Eden. We are continuing in our series. It seems like it's been, well, if I'm counting properly, which you should never bank on, I think it's the 21st video on this. And this is the name of the book. And well, if it's going to focus, right? It doesn't want to focus. Are you serious right now? Anyway, there it is. All right. And I don't say it because YouTube already doesn't like my videos. And already it's an uphill battle to get them recommended and all that stuff. And a lot of the success, almost all the success, honestly, is because of you guys, because you've liked them, you've subscribed, all that stuff. And I really appreciate it. As I said in the beginning, when I started this channel in the fall of 2020, I don't expect you to believe that I'm for real. I don't expect you to just take my word for it that I'm just not another grifter. What I said then and what I'll say to you now, if you're new here, is stick around, keep watching. You'll see that this message is all I'm interested in putting forth. And it's going to be the same when you check in a year from now, 10 years from now, whatever. Hopefully the only thing that'll be different is I've learned more and I'm better at delivering it. And it's even more helpful because I'm interested in helping warn men of what is out there. And that's a huge reason we're covering this book, written in 1971. And boy, all throughout the series, I've been able to share with you guys how I've even heard women speak in my own life, just in the circles, of friends that I've had, and, my mother and all sorts of women that I've come into contact with that literally use these tactics or say certain things like, to get somebody to build something, to get a man, their husband, to build something, you say, I had to sacrifice my body. Ew, don't say that about your husband. But they do, because between the carrot and the stick, that's the carrot, to get him to do what you want. And it shouldn't be that way. You guys shouldn't be treated that way. The problem is, so many men don't know they're being treated that way. And I'm here to inform them and warn them. And hopefully, with that information, if they don't already have that information, they can make informed decisions and maybe not date or not get married or whatever. It's y'all's decision, right? But how can you make a good decision about any of that if you don't have all the information, if you don't know what or who you're dealing with? Oh goodness, Lola just wiped out. I hope she's okay. She's okay. She's just like lost her little tush. If you're new here, Lola's my little dog because I'm a total stereotype and I have a little dog. And if you're new here, you don't understand that she's become part of the channel because men love animals. You just do. They love all creatures, great and small. This next chapter we are covering is called The Business World as a Hunting Ground. Now, keep in mind, in 1971, women were not primarily in the workforce at all the way you see now. It was not expected that the woman would work. Not at all. So if she did work, it was something new and novel. It wasn't expected, but it was allowed, and it was a little more accepted. How times have changed. So, as a hunting ground. There are many women who take their place in the working world of today. Secretaries and shop assistants, factory workers, and stewardesses. Not to mention those countless hardy young women who populate the colleges and universities in ever increasing numbers. Good Lord, if she only knew. Well, she's 89 years old now, so I imagine she knows. I'd love to, see what she thinks now. Now women are more than men. They outnumber men in colleges and universities. Anyway, I like how she talks about hearty young women. One might even get the impression that woman's nature had undergone a radical change in the last 20 years. Today's young women appear to be less unfair than their mothers. It should be noted, good old Ms. Vilar here does not see any purpose for a woman raising her own children at home, being a true wife and mother. What she was seeing in 1971 was the housewife soft life of the mid-20th century, where all of the things like dishwasher and microwave was yet to be, commonplace. But in the 20th century, all these things that made our lives more convenient, easier, all that stuff made being a housewife very easy. Unless, of course, you still wanted to cook from scratch. And if you were going to homeschool your children, and if you were going to grow a garden, all those things. But that was not the reality for 20th century housewives, by and large. So, So she would look at those women as being unfair to their husbands because he's working so hard and has so much pressure. And meanwhile, they're just like, la-dee-doo-dee-doo, think a lunch with the ladies. No. They seem to have decided, perhaps out of pity for their victims, not to exploit men anymore, but to become, in truth, their partners. I'm sorry. Men don't want somebody the same as them. They want a wife, a real wife, who contributes in one way or another. The impression is deceptive. The only truly important act in any woman's life is the selection of the right partner. In any other choice, she can afford to make a mistake. Consequently, she will look for a man where he works or studies and where she can best observe and judge the necessary masculine qualities she values. Isn't it so funny? Because the Godfather, Kevin Samuels, often would say, the smart women go to university to get their MRS degree, their Mrs. degree. And Ms. Vilar is saying that's predatory. Isn't that fascinating? And offices, factories, colleges, and universities are, to her, nothing but gigantic marriage markets. The particular field chosen by any young woman as a hunting ground will depend to a large extent on the level of income of the man who has previously been her slave. In other words, her father. Oh, I'm sorry. If she's 6 years old, is that true, Miss Vilar? I don't agree with her on everything. Okay. The daughters of men in the upper income brackets will choose colleges or universities. These offer the best chances of capturing a man who will earn enough to maintain the standards she has already acquired. Besides, a period of study for form's sake is much more convenient than a temporary employment. For form's sake. I wonder if she means sort of like a finishing school of sorts, like better to go and learn like literature, this, that, and the other, and be a little more cultured to catch one. I don't know what she means. Girls from less well-off homes will have to go into factories, shops, offices, or hospitals for a time, but again, with the same purpose in mind. None of them intends to stay in these jobs for long. They will continue only until marriage, or in cases of hardship, till pregnancy. This offers women one important advantage. Any woman who marries nowadays has given up her studies or her job for the sake of the man of her choice, and sacrifices of this nature create obligations. Interesting. I apologize if you hear my noisy neighbor. It's incredibly rude, and it's not a studio. It's my living room. Welcome. And I'm sorry. Therefore, when women work and study, it merely serves to falsify statistics and furthermore to enslave men more hopelessly than ever, because education and the professions means something very different when applied to women as opposed to men. Not anymore. Not anymore, Ms. Villar, and look how that has turned out. This was just a stopping place into turning us into guys and having us compete with them. She didn't see that coming. She didn't see that we would replace them and make it so harder for them to earn the living that they once did back in 1971, because we've now replaced them. I don't know how a woman this smart cannot realize that when you double the workforce, you take the income and you split it in two. It's basic. And so now, don't you see, Ms. Villar, you're going to have women, as we do today, competing for these promotions and job, all of it, competing for all of it. And also, well, who's raising the children? Oh, the state. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The state loves your children. State loves your children. They just want to do what's best for you. No, knock, knock, knock. Hello, we're the government and we're here to help. When a man works, it is, sorry. No, that was right. When a man works, it is a matter of life and death. And as a rule, the first years of his life are decisive. Any man of 25 who is not well on his way up the ladder can be considered, to all intents and purposes, a hopeless case. At this stage, all his faculties are being developed, and the fight with his competitors is a fight to the death. Behind a mask of business friendship, he is constantly on the watch for any sign of superiority in one of his associates, and he will note its appearance with anxiety. If this same associate shows signs of weakness or indecision, it must be taken advantage of at once. Is this how men think? Do men go, oh, he's weak, I'll take advantage of it? Or is this how women think? Because women tend to fight and men tend to cooperate. So I'm not entirely sure that Ms. Villar is right on this. And it wouldn't be the first time that she's absolutely been wrong about what you guys are and how you think. You guys tell me if that's how you are in a business setting. The second you see weakness, you're like, I'll get them. I don't think that's you guys. I really don't. Yet man is only a tiny cog in a gigantic business machine, he himself being in effect exploited at every turn. When he drives others, he drives himself most of all. His orders are really orders from above, passed on by him. If the men at the top occasionally take time to praise him, it is not in order to make him happy. It is only to spur him on, to stimulate him to greater effort. For man, who was brought up to be proud and honorable, every working day is merely an endless series of humiliations. He shows enthusiasm for products he finds useless. He laughs at jokes he finds tasteless. He expresses opinions which are not his own. Not for a moment is he allowed to forget that the merest oversight may mean demotion, that one slip of the tongue may spell the end of his career. Right. So when he comes home, don't yell at him, don't complain, don't give him a honey-do list. These are the types of things he faces out in the world, not to mention he's keeping a roof over everybody's head, he's keeping food in your bellies. Even if she has a job, more than likely, it's not the same pressure he faces. So don't give him any kind of crap. Show some respect, show some appreciation. It's the least we can do, but we have not been doing that. Yet woman, who is the prime cause of all these struggles, and under whose very eyes these fights take place, just stands aside and watches. Going to work means to her flirting and dates, teasing and banter, with the odd bit of labor done for the sake of appearances. Work for which, as a rule, she has no responsibility. She knows that she is only marking time, and even if she does have to go on working for one reason or another, at least she has had years of pleasant dreams. She watches men's battles from a safe distance, occasionally applauding one of the contestants, encouraging or scolding, and while she makes their coffee, opens their mail, or listens to their telephone conversations, she is cold-bloodedly taking her pick. Wow. The moment she has found Mr. Right, she retires gracefully, leaving the field open to her successors. The same applies to university education. American colleges admit more and more women, but the percentage who actually complete their courses is less than before the Second World War. That's interesting. So they were completing their courses more before World War II, and then after World War II, they were getting the MRS degree? Some of the overlords didn't like that. Because the overlords don't want families. They don't want wives, they don't want husbands, they don't want nuclear families. They sit happily in lectures designing their spring wardrobe, and between classes flirt with the boys. With their scarlet nails carefully protected by transparent rubber gloves, they play around with corpses in the dissecting rooms while their male colleagues realize their whole future is at stake. That's true. The women who were at those colleges and universities, they certainly didn't think their whole future was at stake based on their studies. They thought their whole future was at stake based on if a man would choose them, because their whole future was a family and children. Now, I think they should have brought more to the table than just their glowing selves and their scarlet nails. But, like I said, Ms. Villard does not appreciate family and children. She was very antinatalist in a previous chapter that we read, where men tend to be less antinatalist than a lot of women. Go figure. Who knew? The men are like, I did. If a woman leaves the university with an engagement ring on her finger, she has earned her degree. Man has hardly begun when he obtains his diploma. Degrees are, after all, easy to come by. You have only to memorize. Also, I would add, well, yeah, she's earned her degree, but women, we don't age the same. So we're closer to being sort of peaking. Like, we've peaked physically, all those things, right? By that time, especially going to university, because we were already given up so many good fertile years. So yeah, a man is just getting started, but that's because he doesn't peak until he's like 40, 50, right? How many examiners can tell the difference between real knowledge and bluff? Man, however, has to understand his subject as well. His later success will depend on whether his knowledge is well founded. His later prestige will be built on this, and often other people's lives are dependent on it. Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe not the people who go to college, but certainly if you're a pilot, if you work on an oil rig, if you do a lot of the more blue collar jobs, people depend on you, right? And I suppose if you're an architect, you better not let your building fall down, right? An engineer, yeah. It's far more consequential, I would say, those jobs. None of these battles exist for a woman. If she breaks off her studies and marries a university lecturer, she has achieved the same level as he has without exerting herself. As the wife of a factory owner, she is treated with greater respect than he is, and not as somebody who at best would be employable on the assembly line in the same factory. As a wife who always has the same standard of living and social prestige and has to do nothing to maintain them as he does. For this reason, the quickest way to succeed is always to marry a successful man. She does not win him by her industry, ambition, or perseverance, but simply through an attractive appearance. Yeah, because that's what men want. And generally, the only women who are mad about that are the women who are not attractive enough to get one. I'm just saying. Look at the old pictures of the feminists. Look for pretty ones. We have already seen what demands the well-trained man makes on a woman's appearance. The best women trainers, without the least effort, catch the most successful fighters among men. The so-called beautiful women are usually those who had an easy life from their childhood days and therefore have less reason than others to develop their intellectual gifts. Intelligence is developed only through competition. Intelligence, IQ, a lot of that you're born with, and I would disagree on that. I don't know. I kind of sometimes feel like I smell a communist. You guys tell me what you think about that. It follows as a logical consequence that very successful men usually have abysmally can't say that. Abysmally dim wives. Unless, of course, one considers women's skill at transforming herself into bait for a man a feat of intelligence. Well, no, but I would say a meal from scratch. What is the man going to appreciate? Is he like, yeah, I want to feel like I'm going to bed with Albert Einstein? I mean, does she know what men want? I get her criticism all day long. The way we treat you guys, I get that. Not okay. But also, listen to the menfolk of what they actually want, right? I wonder how critical she'd be. If you asked her, well, what do you think about the men that's what they want? They want a pretty woman, right? They want an attractive woman, a soft-spoken one who will cooperate, one who's fit, right? One who doesn't want to compete with them, one who wants to have lots of babies and teach them and raise them, one who smiles and gives you your coffee in the morning and sends you off with a lunch and it has a note in it, and you come home from work and she's smiling again and your children are happy to see you and they're well-mannered. And the smell of freshly baked bread. I know you guys are like, okay, Erin, return to planet Earth. I know. But sometimes you have to look at what it should be like so you can see clearly that this is not what it should be. You have to see how far from Eden we are Sometimes you have to look at, well, what would the perfect scenario be? So you can see how far away from that we are, right? And go, yeah, it's not worth it. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. You guys have taught me that. We have already seen what demands the well-trained man makes on a woman's appearance. The best women trainers without the least effort catch the most successful fighters. I already read that. I'm so sorry. I do that all the time because I get talking to you guys and I forget where we were. Hi, hi. Thanks for putting up with me. Oh boy. Yeah, abysmally dim. I remember that. It has almost become commonplace that a really successful man, be he a company director, financier, shipping magnate, or orchestra conductor, will, when he reaches the zenith of his career, marry a beautiful model, usually his second or third wife. Men who have inherited money often take such a supergirl as their first wife, although she will be exchanged over the years for another. That is not the majority of men. The majority of men don't want to trade up, especially if she was with him in the beginning. This is false about men. This is partly what has destroyed the character of men and filled the brains of women over the years to where we think that you guys are just dogs and only interested in one thing, right? And it's not true. It's really not. Although she will be exchanged over the years for another. Yet, as a rule, models are women of little education who have not even finished school, and who have nothing to do until they marry but look beautiful and pose becomingly in front of a camera. But they are beautiful, and that makes them potentially rich. As soon as a woman has caught her man, she gives up her career for love, or at least that is what she will tell him. After all, he could hardly be flattered by the thought that she had been saved in the nick of time from having to sweat her way through examinations. He would much rather get drunk on the idea of the love that knows no compromise. This woman pretends to feel for him. Oh. Who knows? He thinks she might have become a famous surgeon, celebrated prima ballerina, brilliant journalist, and she has given it all up for him. Yeah, but you guys know a career isn't like something like, seriously, when were we all taught that a job was the be all end all, that that's what fulfills us and that's what makes us happy? That's a big lie. That's a big part of the programming and propaganda. I know the women, I fell for it. You know, like, oh, this is what makes you important. This is how you find fulfillment. And this is what he really wants. I thought that. I believed that. I thought, oh, no man just wants a gold digging housewife. That was the propaganda. And I'm like, there are ways you can contribute and not be a gold digging housewife. But the propaganda is strong. He would never believe that she preferred to be the wife of a famous surgeon, to have his income and prestige without having either the work or the responsibility. Therefore, he resolves to make her life at his side as comfortable as possible to compensate for her great sacrifice. No, he does that because men are loving, giving, generous people. She has once again sold you short. A small percentage, 10 to 20% of women students in Western industrial countries do, however, obtain their degree before they get married. Oh my gosh, 10 to 20%. Despite occasional exceptions, they are, as a rule, less attractive and have failed to catch a suitable provider while still in education. But then this degree will automatically raise their market value For there are certain types of men who feel bolstered if their wife has a degree, providing they have one themselves. It is clear evidence of his own cleverness if such a highly educated woman is interested in him. No, it isn't. Whatever. Like, I learned this from The Godfather. Once again, we bring up Kevin Samuels, gone, RIP, gone too soon, because that is where I learned men don't care about your degree, your career, all of that. Those things, getting your master's, I'm a PhD. Remember, that's on his little soundboard. Yeah, that's not a selling point. Ms. Beelar's wrong. Just like the women today are wrong when they say that, yeah, I'm raising my value and this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, you can't. The only way you can is you better learn to cook. You better, be fit, be sweet, learn to play up your strengths, grow your hair long. Don't be masculine. You can't change the face. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can't change the face you were born with, because, man, that's not true nowadays. But, that they don't want the fakery. So you can't change the face you were born with. But you can be more feminine. You can learn to bake. You can, be motherly. You can do all those things. You can cooperate. All of those things. Those are things men want. So sorry about that. I am going to press pause for a moment while this person yells next door. So sorry about that. I'm so sorry. That was startling. Okay. Yeah. If by chance this female mastermind happens to be sensual, he will be beside himself with joy. No, he doesn't want all that. He wants fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, not masculine, not disagreeable. You can't change the face you were born with, but you can improve all these other things. And getting a PhD is not going to be something that's useful to him. It's really not. But not for long. Even women doctors, women sociologists, and women lawyers sacrifice their careers for their men, or at least set them aside. They withdraw into suburban villas, have children, plant flower beds, and fill their homes with the usual trash. Yeah. Yeah, buying junk and decorating in such a way that your man's like, this isn't appropriate. It doesn't add anything to my life. It's not helpful. But at the end of the day, you guys are like, I'll take it. I would take that. I get it. It's gotten really bad. Within a few years, these new entertainments obliterate the small amount of expert knowledge learned by, I don't know this word, rote, of course, and they become exactly like their female neighbors. So they're saying the ones that have the degrees or the knowledge, once they become wives, they just lose all those things that are valuable. Well, she's so right on so many things, but not here. I don't think. You guys, please tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm off base, if you disagree with me. I will not get better at this if I don't listen to you guys telling me where I'm wrong. I've learned I don't want to be one of those women that sits here and tells you what you think, because I see that as a problem with what Esther is doing here, but I would say, again, she doesn't realize that it's not just the Russians that faced propaganda, right? It's in the West too, and it's rampant, and it's so that we will, the breakdown of the nuclear family, and so they can double the tax base and lower the wages and all those things. And basically they do end up raising your children. And when the state raises your kids, they belong to the state. Whoever raises them is whose they are, right? And I don't mean that means they're the mothers if the mother stays home. I mean the family, they're either the family or they're the state. And you wonder why kids don't obey and don't listen. And there's a lot of reasons, but a big reason is because their parents aren't raising them. Your parents aren't teaching you right from wrong. You're learning some of the stuff on the school bus. It's like Lord of the Flies out there, you know? And it's not the way it's supposed to be. But anyway, we're very far from Eden. And I think it's important to look around and realize how we got here, where we are, how we got here. And eventually, we will go back. Probably not in this lifetime. And I don't mean in this time. I mean, I think it's going to have to be after we go back home to whom? To the Creator who made us. And he made you. Whether you believe in him or not, he did. And you're made in his image. And that's where your value comes from. It's intrinsic. It's not based on what you do, what you haven't done. It's definitely not based on what a woman thinks of you. It's not. And thank goodness, right? It's intrinsic. It's already there. And I want you guys to know that. I really do. All too often, men have been taught to find their value in what a woman thinks of them, be it their mother, the girls in school, whether they think you're a loser, or they think you're a stud. Those are the words of my generation. And that's not it at all. It's not. And if your wife filed for divorce, doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean, hey, if I were just a better husband. No. Because you could be perfect and it wouldn't matter. It's true in a lot of cases. So don't chase your tail playing the happy wife, happy life, or thinking, well, if only I'd done that more. Stop beating yourself up. We are very far from Eden. And that's why it's so important, more than ever, that you protect that piece of yours, that you feed your soul. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.